All right, let's get right into it. Today we're cracking open a really fascinating and often misunderstood text, a modern guide that lays out the philosophy of what it calls traditional Satanism. We're going to go way beyond the stereotypes and really unpack what this is all about. And right out of the gate, the book throws this at you. This quote really sets the tone for everything else. The whole philosophy isn't about just blindly accepting old stories or totally rejecting them. It's about reinterpretation. This idea that you can redefine powerful concepts for yourself is the absolute key to understanding everything we're about to cover.
Okay, so first up, a different kind of devil.
This slide really breaks down the huge shift in thinking. The common view paints Satan as this ultimate evil, but this text, it flips the whole script. Here, Satan isn't some enemy you worship just to be defiant. Instead, it's a symbolic force of rebellion and reason, something to be emulated for its strength. The goal isn't fighting God, it's all about empowering yourself.
And this is super interesting. The book takes us right back to the word's origins. It argues that Satan wasn't even a proper name. It was a job title. It's the Hebrew word for adversary. Think about that. It completely reframes the whole idea. It's not about a specific guy. It's about taking on the role of the challenger, the one who questions things.
Now, here's where the text draws a really hard line in the sand. It's got some pretty sharp criticism for what it calls reverse Christianity. The author's point is basically, look, you can't say the Bible's story is true and then just decide to root for the bad guy. That's seen as a totally contradictory, dead-end path that's just built on a foundation of self-hate.
Okay, so that brings us to section 2, the core satanic philosophy.
So what's really at the heart of this? Well, if you look at the core values, it's all about personal empowerment. We're talking about reason, self-reliance, strength of will, expressing yourself creatively. The entire focus is on evolving yourself, on becoming a stronger, more rational person, not on malice or destruction.
This table is really helpful because it shows exactly where this particular philosophy sees itself. You've got secular Satanism, where Satan is purely a symbol. Then you have reverse Christianity, which is just about opposition. This traditional Satanism sits in a very specific middle ground. It sees Satan as a real force, but the goal is a spiritual path of reason, not some cosmic war.
And this leads us to a really big concept, satanic gnosis. Now, gnosis just means knowledge. And here, it's this idea that the divine isn't some being out there, it is the fabric of reality itself, which this text happens to call Satan. The idea is that we are all part of this universal whole, and so real power, well, that comes from understanding yourself and your connection to it all.
So, what's the whole point of this journey? In a word, freedom. But it's a very specific kind of freedom. It's liberation from fear, from social rules that just don't make sense, and from moral codes that aren't grounded in logic. It's really a call for radical personal responsibility, where your own reasoned judgment guides your actions, not guilt or blind obligation. Okay, so we've covered the philosophy. Now let's see how it's put into practice.
You can learn a lot from a philosophy's holidays. And here, the most important day of the entire year isn't some ancient festival, it's your own birthday. That really drives home the focus on the self being the god of your own universe. Other days, like Halloween, are seen as a chance to let your inner, more hidden self come out and play.
Now, when we hear the word ritual, we might think of worship, but that is not how it's framed here. It's presented as a tool that has a dual purpose. First, it's therapeutic, almost like a form of psychodrama to help you work through emotional stuff. And second, it's practical. An attempt to use focused will, or magic with a K, to actually influence events in the real world.
And becoming a practitioner isn't just a snap decision, it's a massive, year-long structured process of transformation. It's laid out across the 4 elements, moving from air, the intellectual study phase, to fire, which is all about creation, then water, learning the practical tools, and finally earth, which is about actually living this philosophy every single day. It's presented as a profound journey of self-creation.
So let's tackle the infamous Black Mass. The text completely demystifies it. It's not some dark, evil ceremony. It's described as a piece of celebratory theater. It's framed as a reappropriation of ancient pagan rites, which, the author points out, the Catholic Mass also adapted from. The main takeaway is that its purpose is celebratory, not sinister.
All right, let's bring all these threads together in our final section, the world of the Satanist.
So what's the endgame? What does this all lead to? It's about living a life entirely on your own terms. It's about enjoying life's pleasures without being held back by fear or guilt,
But, and this is a big but, it's not just reckless hedonism. The text insists that every action has to be guided by reason and self-awareness. It's all about becoming the master of your own destiny.
And to help guide this kind of life, the text even includes a list of 21 satanic precepts. You could think of them as these short, punchy, philosophical signposts for the person practicing this path.
This final quote just crystallized the entire argument. The opposition isn't aimed at a deity. The book flat out says God is not. The true adversary, from this point of view, is any human system, any dogma that tries to limit human potential and deny you the right to define yourself for yourself.
And that brings us to our final thought. The text presents this philosophy as the ultimate form of personal freedom, a rebellion against unjust authority. But it raises a really fascinating question, doesn't it? Can any philosophy built on rebellion ever become organized without, creating a new set of rules to rebel against? It's a central paradox, and it's definitely something to think about.